Hey, I'm Vicky and this video is all about the online marketplace Vinted. Whether it's any good, plus some tips and tricks for how to sell your unwanted stuff on the platform so that you can turn unwanted items in your closet into cash in your pocket. First of all, what is Vinted? Vinted is an online marketplace very much like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. You place unwanted items on there and then hopefully buyers check them out, snap them up, pay you some money, and then you can withdraw money from your Vinted account once the transaction has all gone through. Vinted has really exploded in popularity in the last couple of years. It is really starting to grow in the marketplace. It's not a brand new platform. However, I would say I'm hearing more and more about it from my friends. So I decided to give it a go. I signed up. I made my first sale within 2 hours of having set up my profile. So I'm already a big fan. I've been using it for a few weeks now, so I wanted to give you my honest thoughts about the platform, how you actually use it, and some tips and tricks for making sure that you sell your stuff and make some money. Getting started with Vinted is incredibly easy. First of all, simply download the app to your smartphone and then set up a profile. You'll need to put things in such as your address, your name, your email address. You'll be asked to confirm your email address, all the usual stuff that you would expect when setting up a profile on an app of this kind. Once your account is ready, you can then set personalization. So for example, if you plan to buy as well as sell on Vinted, then you can set what type of items you're looking for. Are you only interested in women's wear? Are you interested in women's wear and kids stuff? Are you interested in particular sizes, particular brands? You can set all of those preferences in the app. But once you have set up that profile, it is incredibly easy to then put up your first listing of an item for sale. In order to get selling, all you need to do is push this little sell button down at the bottom here and it will pop up with a form for you to fill out for your listing. In the sell an item form, you'll need to upload some pictures and we'll talk more about tips for your pictures in a moment. Add a title, then add a description, set what the category of the item is, i.e. is it a dress, women's wear, kids wear, whatever it is. Put in the brand, put in the condition and set a price. Once you've given Vinted a little bit of information about your product, it will come up with suggested prices for how to price your item, which is really useful. You can take that on board, but I also would go away out of that suggestion area and just do a bit of research before you post your listing about the price. What you set is really key here. You don't want to price it too high because Vinted is very much a buyer's market. In general, they expect to pay a little bit less. They really are looking for a bargain here. But you don't want to price it too low because at the end of the day, like, you know, if you're reselling something that's really good quality, that is a really high-end brand, that is really nice, that you think is worth a decent amount, you don't want to undersell it and, you know, cut into any of your profits when doing this. So this is something that's really important to think through and get right. So go away and do your research, check out eBay as well as Vinted and maybe even Depop and Facebook Marketplace as well, just to see what the second-hand marketplace value is for the items, for the brand that you're selling. And once you've put in that information, you just upload. It's as simple as that. My first item, I hit upload and within 2 hours it had been favorited once and then it had been bought. It was that simple. When it comes to listing things for sale, a really important pro to note about Vinted, and this is what has got people flocking to it to sell their stuff, is that you won't pay any fees. The buyer will pay a buyer protection fee and they will also pay for the postage. It's not going to cost you any money. The only time where you will have to put a bit of money up front is when we get to postage. So let's go through postage options right now. So under the settings section in the Vinted app, under your profile, you can set your postage preferences. So there are several different preferences for postage. There are 7 here. One of them is Royal Mail Standard Second Class. Now with this one, you need to pay cash up front to post it to the buyer, but then you will be reimbursed that money. So you may be okay with that. If you're not okay with paying any money up front, then you can simply turn that option off in the app. Yeah, so I can disable that, and that just means that when someone buys my item, they can't select that as a postage option. They have to select one of the others. I've used Yodel store to door with the most recent thing that I sold. I found that super simple. So I literally just checked where my local Yodel store to door shop was. It was about a mile away from my house. Went there with the product packaged up and then they printed the label in the shop, they stuck the label on and then they took it away and posted it. The money doesn't get released to you until the item has been received by the buyer. What's really good about most of the options here is that you don't need a printer to sell on Vinted. You're not going to have to print off a label. Generally speaking, you can go to a store and they can print off the label for you. I do recommend with all of these postage options, just double checking all the terms and conditions to see if they work for you. And most importantly, check out where your nearest store is for each of these postage options, because if one is in a place that's really inaccessible to you for whatever reason, or if one is particularly appealing to you because it's much easier for you to get to, say you can only walk to post something, then you need to just go through, just check out all of these options and see if any are best for you. Obviously it's much more appealing to a buyer if you have the full range of postal options in the app available to them, but it's certainly not going to be a deal breaker if they really want your item that you're selling. What can you actually sell on Vinted? So one of the ways that Vinted is slightly disadvantaged to other online marketplaces like eBay and Facebook Marketplace is the range of things that you can actually sell on there. There are a few exclusions on there that you don't find on some of the other websites and apps. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things you can't sell. Furniture for adults, statues, paintings, drawings and home fragrances, kitchen tools or accessories used to make and store food, music and sports equipment for adults, hobby equipment, stationery supplies, audio and video equipment, computer hardware, high-tech electronics and gadgets. So those are just some of the examples of some of the things you can't sell. Things that you can sell: clothing and accessories. So for example, handbags, dresses, tops, all that kind of stuff. You can sell new cosmetics and perfumes and other beauty products. They have to be brand new and in their packaging, not secondhand. So children's stuff, including toys and children's furniture and childcare equipment, you can sell. You can sell some homeware items, textiles, tableware and home accessories. You can't sell Christmas decorations. Entertainment items, you can sell video game consoles, you can sell books, you can sell board games and puzzles, you can sell DVDs, CDs, pet care items, you can sell pets clothing, accessories, beddings and toys. Do check the exceptions on the actual app and on the website. As I said, I think other marketplaces offer a broader range of things that you can sell, but if you're looking to sell clothes, Vinted is definitely a really competitive marketplace to use, and I would really recommend it for selling secondhand clothes. So I've just touched very briefly on a big difference between Vinted and eBay, but let's just talk through some other differences between Vinted and eBay. The biggest advantage that Vinted has over eBay is that there are no seller fees. You're not going to be stung for a percentage of your sale, unlike eBay. eBay will charge you a listing fee once you've hit a certain number of listings. I mean, it's quite high, it's like 1,000 listings. However, they will take a slice of your sale, so that's something really to consider. However, where eBay would argue, I'm sure, that they have the advantage over Vinted is that they do have a much bigger audience for you to sell to. And let's just talk about another big competitor in the second-hand clothing marketplace, Depop. So this one is super trendy, super popular with people who are really into their fashion. The big advantage that Vinted has over Depop again comes down to fees. So Depop charges 10% seller fees. And in general though, Depop you can expect to sell clothes for a slightly higher price. So it may be, depending on the type of clothes that you are selling, if you've got a lot of branded goods, it might be that Depop is a better platform for you. I think it's really important to go and look at Depop and at Vinted, depending on what it is in general you're going to be selling, and seeing which one sells those type of clothes, how much are they selling them for. Go away and sort of have a look at them side by side, because one of them may suit the items that are in your wardrobe better, just because the audience seems to be demanding those kind of clothes more. There's a lot more of those kind of clothes on the marketplace at Depop compared to Vinted. Now that you know how Vinted actually works, let's talk through some tips and tricks for making sure that your items sell on Vinted and that they sell fast. First of all, the number one most important thing is your pictures. It's the first thing that people are going to see as they are scanning through the app, is the photos of the product. The photo of your item is absolutely crucial. You need to take it in good light, preferably natural light. The photo needs to be clear, so make sure that your focus is working, that nothing is blurry. You need to take it against a plain backdrop. And when it comes to clothes, I would say it is best to have pictures of the product either hanging up or laid out flat, as well as on you, so that you can show what it actually looks like. Obviously, if you're selling it because it doesn't really fit, you can't do that, but if it is an option that you can actually model the item and take a picture of it so people get an idea of what it looks like when on, then do so, because that can really help. Your featured picture, so the main picture that people see in their feed, should be a picture of the full product. So full length of a dress, full length of a top. You should be able to get an idea of exactly what the product looks like as a whole, and then they can click through and look at more pictures if they're interested. Try and have a tidy, clear background behind the item when you're photographing it as well, just so it doesn't feel cluttered and so that it's really clear what exactly it is you're selling. I've seen a couple of pictures where someone is wearing multiple things in the picture, or there's other things in the background, and it's just not immediately clear to me which item it is they're selling. So I just think it's really important to make the item that you're selling the star of the picture. That should be front and center of your picture. When it comes to your description, be really, really honest and be really, really clear about any flaws with the item. So has it got any dents? Has it got any rips? Any fading color anywhere? Just be really, really honest, because once the person has received it, they're going to see all of the flaws. So you should be really honest in your description about that. Try and give people an idea about the sizing. So say you've got a size 12, is it true to size? Is it a slightly bigger fit than you would normally expect with a size 12? Just give people a little bit of guidance. And you could also even put in there the year that it was bought, put in there how often it's been worn. Has it been worn a lot? Has it not been worn a lot? Is it brand new with tags? Put all of these important points in there, including things like colors and design and any little features that are particularly special about this item. Set a reasonable price for the item. So Vinted does tend to sell things at a slightly lower price point, I've noticed, than some other platforms. That's not to say that it's a huge disparity between it and eBay, but I am noticing that people who are buying on Vinted are generally expecting are really, really good bargains. So it's really, really worth thinking about putting a competitive price on that, because that's going to mean that your item sells a bit faster. Particularly when you're getting started on Vinted, it can be worth considering offers. So people can message you and say, hey, I saw this item, I loved it, but I don't want to pay this price. Can I pay this price? If you're happy to accept that, then it can sometimes be positive to accept an offer, particularly when it comes to your reviews. And speaking of reviews, they are really, really important. Be polite to your buyers, answer their messages, answer their questions, deal with them politely and professionally, because reviews on the platform really matter. And if you are a one-star seller, then people are probably going to start to give you a bit of a wide berth on the platform. And on a similar note, it's important to be really clear when you can post items. Once something has sold, give people an update. It can be nice just to send them a message saying, hey, I know you've bought this today, but I can't get to the post office for another couple of days. I hope that's okay. Just so they're clear on roughly when they can expect the item to be in the post and on the way to them. Some people might be in a bit of a rush, so they might message you and ask for a particularly speedy postage. Just keep the dialogue open with the buyer so that you're being polite, dealing with them nicely, and they just feel like they've had a positive buying experience, and that's going to lead to good reviews. If you are struggling to sell an item, you can bump up your listing. So this is partly where Vinted makes its money. So Vinted makes its money from the buyer's protection that it adds onto the fee for your item. However, it also makes its money from fees for things like bump and also wardrobe spotlight, which sellers have to pay for. So bump is just where it makes your listing much more visible. If you're struggling to sell something, then you could consider paying for a bump. The price of that varies depending on the cost of your item and how long you want the bump to last for. Generally, it's not particularly expensive, and a wardrobe spotlight, that's less than £7. If you're still struggling to sell things, then one thing you can consider is adjusting the price, maybe bringing it down a little bit. And another one you can consider is offering bundle deals. This is where you provide your buyers with an option to save a bit of money if they buy more than one item from your shop. So for example, if they buy 2 items, they get a 25% discount. If they buy 3 items, maybe they get a 50% discount. This works really well, I think, on kids' clothes and also kids' toys as well. Another tip for selling your items on Vinted is that when it comes to packaging stuff up to sell, make sure you package it up well so that it arrives in one piece, it doesn't get damaged in transit. I like the postal envelopes, the plastic envelopes for dresses, tops, clothes, that kind of stuff. However, you could also set aside and save any Amazon packaging or other kind of postal packaging that you've received, so you can reuse that in order to save you a little bit of money on your costs. So ultimately, the packaging of the item is the only thing that's going to cost you money. So this is where, like, as I said, using secondhand Amazon envelopes or boxes could really come in handy just to save you that bit of money. And my final trick for making sure that you sell on Vinted is not to chuck a load of stuff onto Vinted all at once at the beginning. Try to upload in small batches the items that you want to sell and kind of monitor how things go, because when you post can make a difference to how viewed your item is. So if you think about it, a lot of people are going to be on the platform browsing maybe in the early evening, maybe between sort of 7 to 9 p.m. So consider uploading things then. Try not, when you're getting started, to upload like 50 items. Say start with 2 or 3, see how you get on with those, and then move on from there. And for sellers, it's also really important to keep organized with the stuff you're selling. Try to keep track of who is receiving which item. If you've got multiple things to post out, it can get a bit confusing. You may get things jumbled up. So just try and stay organized, try and stay on top of your orders so that you send everything out to the right place. So what are my ultimate thoughts on Vinted? It is now my new favorite place to sell unwanted clothes. Next time I have a clear out of the kids' toys, I'm also going to be using it to sell those items. It's super easy to use. I've found things shift really quickly. I love the fact that I don't have to pay any fees on the items, and generally the buyers on there, I've had nothing but positive experiences with them, unlike some other marketplaces such as Facebook, where I've had some very mixed experiences. Now that's not to say that people on Vinted don't occasionally have bad experiences with buyers and with sellers, but in general I found it a really positive experience. I'll definitely be using it a lot more.